That was a very stimulating presentation by General Stone, and as he suggested towards the end of his presentation, much of this story, much of the jihadi threat that we're facing is, in a sense, the fruits of the prison system. Zawahiri got radicalized in prison. Zarqawi became Zarqawi in a Jordanian jail. And so the question of what to do with militants or potential militants in prison is something that has obviously engaged Saudis very deeply. And it's really my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Al-Hadlag, who is the General Director of the Ideological Directorate of the Ministry of the Interior. He's a PhD in political science from, of all unlikely places, Idaho. And he is really the man who has been guiding the day-to-day Saudi de-radicalization program and how it's constructed and how inmates are dealt with and then released. So I hope you can give us Dr. Hadlag a warm welcome now.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first thank the host for their invitation. And let me remind you about the situation in Saudi Arabia in 2003 and 2004, where we faced a lot of terrorist attacks by Qaeda, which really motivated us to understand the problem and its roots and its causes. Therefore, we had to do, or we had to conduct some studies inside prisons and outside prisons to make some policies and to choose some approaches, either hard approach or soft approach, and to cooperate with others. Some of the results of these studies, which anyway, we had hundreds and hundreds of results, but these are the characteristics of radicals. They are mostly single Saudis, very young in their early and mid-20s, mostly high school graduates, mostly from middle-class families, although we have some from high-class and lower-class families. Family size is above the average of Saudi family size, which is 6.5. In some cases, we had 22 or more in the family. 50% of them have fathers over 60 years old, where parental control was very weak. Also, almost 1/3 of them traveled to hotspots like Afghanistan, Iraq, etc. When we asked them what are the top 10 factors that encourage you to participate or to travel for jihad, number one answer is the sympathy with Islamic issues, which is really related to media issues. Also listening to tapes about jihad, watching video tapes about jihad, also watching international channels, watching the news. So almost all of this related to media and to TV and other sources of opinion. This is a processing model explaining extremist group violence. Basically, really, to de-radicalize the people, you have to understand how they are radicalized and how they are recruited. So we will get to this. Anyway, this is a processing model explaining extremist group violence. On the left side, you see the contributing factors that lead to deprivation and frustration and anger. There are political factors like international conflicts, internal politics, economic factors, employment, poverty, social factors, westernization, family relation, etc. Anyway, these factors, they don't have to be together to make someone frustrated and angry. Only one is enough. And from our experience, most of the frustration we have seen basically related to the international conflicts, the situation in Iraq, the situation in Palestine, the situation in Afghanistan. We are very frustrated about this. But anyway, there are also other factors. Again, they don't have to be together. One is enough to make someone frustrated and angry. And if he is frustrated and angry, either he will be active to change the situation, or he will be passive on and turn to drugs and alcohol. So when he is active really to change the situation, we think he is ready to be recruited and radicalized. Some of them usually will join social organization to make the change, and some of them will join moderate group. But the most dangerous thing when they join extremist group. And always Al-Qaeda is looking for these guys. They are looking for these frustrated and angry guys to really recruit them. In the end, of course, when the extremist group, when they join the extremist group, in the end, we think they will be using violence. And there is a note over down there that the more sympathy a group enjoys from the society, the easier its job in recruitment. So now we think this sympathy is really decreasing right now, and they are really having a hard time to recruit people. This is another processing model about recruitment and radicalization. On the left side, these are the places and where they recruit and radicalize people. Mosques, family and relatives, neighborhoods, social activities, prisons, schools and universities, and number 8 is the internet, especially chat rooms. Well, we are doing our best. We have different programs for these places. We think we are having good success in controlling the mosque and controlling the social activities. Prison, of course, we have different prison system where we don't really allow them to mix with criminal. We have 2 different systems, one for the extremists and one prison for the criminals, so they don't really recruit any criminals. But the most dangerous thing right now for recruitment is, of course, number 8, which is the internet, especially chat rooms. It's really very important, and they use it in a very professional way to recruit people. Basically, then the second stage is the identification of candidates. They usually identify their candidates by looking for certain characteristics, and these characteristics can be seen over here. Usually they look for trusted person with a clean record, a low level of Islamic knowledge, so they can manipulate him. And newly repentant guys, of course, those guys will be having a very limited knowledge of Islam, and spiritually hungry, dedicated to Islam. They fear of hell. They have the feeling of fear of hellfire. They look also for desperate guys, and they look for simple and naive individuals, although they have also smart individuals there. And they look also for people who needs money. Again, when they identify their targets, they will have some dialogue with him. They will build some friendship with them and get acquainted with them and gain their trust by really addressing and fulfilling their needs and desires. Then the stage number 3 is to partially isolate them, spend a lot of time with them during the day. And then they will talk about the humiliation theory. Humiliation theory, I mean by it, is they will talk about the suffering of Muslims, how they are humiliated by the West. And they are very professional in doing this and talking about this humiliation. Showing pictures and videotapes of Muslim women raped by some of the occupiers. So these are some of the pictures. And see this one, like, the most humiliating to any Arabs, at least in our culture, is to put your foot on the head of a man. These are more pictures. This is from a grave, from Gaza, I think. And what's the solution? Who's doing this? This is what they ask after showing them all of these. Who's doing this? The dirty kuffar, which is the dirty non-Muslims. And what is the solution? Of course, the solution is jihad, according to Osama bin Laden. And there are 39 ways to serve and participate in jihad. And lately I have seen this list go to more than 70 ways. Anyway, when they talk about this humiliation theory, they will talk then, after that, they will talk about the duty of an individual. What are the duty as a Muslim? What should you do to resist this humiliation? We'll talk about the glorification of violent jihad, and the justification of that. So if someone is not persuaded by all these means, they will use a tactic called trapping and scaring. What is that trapping and scaring? Usually, if this person resists to be recruited, they will tell him, okay, you can help, in a minor thing. You don't have to really participate in a violent or in some kind of operation, but at least help us, assist us in a minor thing. How about if you rent a house under your name or rent a car under your name because we don't have identification? Then he will agree to this. Then the next day they will tell him, listen, now the Secret Service, now they know about you, and if they capture you, they will do this and that, they will torture you. So he will be very scared. And he will say, okay, what should I do? What should I do? Then they will tell him, okay, we'll help you. We will take you with us. We'll protect you. But then from there, in the end, he will be really associating with them, and in the end, they will be using violence. Also, they use deception. If a guy, so there are some guys who really do something called self-recruitments, and they come and they tell them that we want to go to fight in Iraq. And in the end, they will delay this, and they will tell them, listen, why do you go to Iraq? The real enemy is here. The real enemy is the near enemy, the Saudi government, who is really helping the American, who are providing the American with all the logistic help. So why do you go there? You have to fight the government over here in Saudi Arabia. And in the end, if someone will really join them, they will go to the full isolation, and they will really isolate him fully from the society, and they will manipulate his mind by different means, by videotapes, by fatwas, and by the internet, which is really now is becoming very important. As you see over here, the sources of the ideological influence in 2001. This is slide in 2001. If you see number one source is the Islamic tapes, books, Friday ceremonies. And if you look at the internet, it's really way behind. Right now, because we really have a very good control over those Islamic tapes, either audio and video, and over some of the Islamic bookstores and some of the Friday ceremonies, what happened is really they uploaded all these materials. They uploaded to the internet. So the internet really right now is becoming number one source of their knowledge and for their recruitments. So the battle of idea really is the internet. That's the battle right now, where we are leading. And as you see, the development of the internet is really very fast in Saudi Arabia. In 2000, you see 500,000 people using it. In 2008, 5 million people. Right now, it's really increasing in a very fast way because we are using wireless. And now, in 2009, we have about 6 to 7 million people using this. Of course, very young guys using it in their homes and their internet cafe, and they are using it at least 2 hours a day. And again, the importance of the internet, the development of radical websites. In 1998, there are about 15 websites. Right now, we have a few thousand. This is just a slide to show you some of their websites. Look at this: questions and misunderstandings about the Mujahideen and their operations. And they use it for everything. They use it to really publish or to have some kind of propaganda to themselves, and they use it really to spread this violent and extremist ideology. And unfortunately, most of these websites are hosted where? In the West, not in the Arab countries. And it's very important for them for certain reasons, but they usually, right now, they use it as an alternative source for the traditional media, and they have been very successful on this. They use it for data collection, for recruitment, for psychological war, fundraising, propaganda, and for operation. We have captured many of these guys because they are using the internet for their operations. I don't want to go in details because of the limitation of time, but anyway, what do we do to really counter this ideology on the internet? We frequently scan and monitor the radical websites, especially popular websites. We track down participants and publishers of radical ideas and bring them to trial. We block radical websites through the Saudi filtering system, and anyone who has some doubts about this and it's not successful, I assure you it's very successful. The filtering system, we know it's not blocking everybody, but at least it blocks most of those young guys to go to these websites. We have seen it in many cases. When we block a radical website, we will see the visitors' number decrease by 80%. So that means really it has some effects. We educate the public about the negative effect of the internet in that respect. We engage the families and encourage them to monitor their children's usage of the internet, because really many of these children or these guys, they have been recruited through the internet. And with the parents, they come to us and we ask them, how come you didn't know about them? Well, he never really checked about his internet, his relation with other guys. So the internet is really playing an important role. So it's very important to have some awareness program for the parents regarding that. Encouraging independent Islamic scholars to engage in a dialogue with them on the internet, encourage the creation of websites that refute radical ideas and reply to any misunderstandings. And this is also the most important one. We encourage knowledgeable people and volunteers to have dialogue with these guys and rebut their radical ideas in many radical websites they visit, especially chat rooms and public forums. We have about 200 people working in this program. It's very important to go and have some dialogue with these guys and try to change their mentality and ideology. And we always ask the ex-Takfiris or ex-extremists to participate in this program. These are some of the websites that really counter the radicalization. This is the I call 3 M's theory. I think when we have men with grievances and organization, plus they have some money and they have mindset with a violent ideology, in the end we will be having terrorism. In Saudi Arabia, our experience with those men with organization and with grievances, we have been able really to destroy these organizations and eliminate most of the leaders. We are not saying we have 100% success, but we have been successful in general. Also, it's very important to deal with the grievances of these guys. Lately, we have been doubling the number of universities. We are accepting or admitting most of the students to universities. We are having a scholarship program to United States and Western countries. Tens of thousands have been sent lately on a scholarship program. And also we have been training young guys and paying them while they are training to get some jobs later on. So this is the way we are dealing with the grievances. This is some of our actions in that regard. Also, on the money stand, in Saudi Arabia, we have been taking many measures really to counter any collection of money that will be used in terrorist activities. We have very good control over the charitable organization. We have created different agencies to follow the movements of the money. But unfortunately, in Saudi Arabia, we are having difficulty because it's a cash-free society. Always people will, deal in cash. Also, we have the Hajj problem, the pilgrimage to Mecca. Millions of people, they come. And they usually, sometimes they will use this money or they will take some of the money back with them that have been collected. So it's a little bit hard, but we are doing our best. We have been successful really to the point that Al-Qaeda right now is sending multimedia messages in the cell phone to people to collect some money in secret way. So they are really having a hard time collecting money in Saudi Arabia. Then the mindset, which is I think is the hardest thing. Mindset, it's not a building that you can eliminate it. It's not a physical thing. It's something inside the mind. You cannot even, open a mind and see what's in there. Especially right now, Al-Qaeda members, they are changing their appearance. Right now, if you see someone, you will say, oh, this guy, he came from DC or he came from other country. He cannot be, one of those extremists. They wear, the latest model. They cut their hair in the latest model. So Now it's getting very hard really to identify a person by his appearance. Therefore, we are doing our best really to counter this ideology through a national strategy called PRAC. PRAC stands for the prevention, P for prevention, R for rehabilitation, AC for after release care program. So these different programs really we are trying to do, and this is the prevention program. The goal of this is to support all efforts to discredit radical violent ideology and rectify any radical misunderstandings about Islam and propagating moderate Islam by doing the following: encouraging others to write books and produce audio and video tapes about moderate Islam and correct any misconceptions about it. Also promote the holding of public lectures, seminars, and conferences and meetings that help in countering radicalization and correcting any misinterpretation about Islam, and almost some of these activity on a daily basis, and some of the conferences almost every 6 months we have a conference. Sponsoring media program to discredit extremist ideology, violent ideology, and show the danger of such evil ideology and its consequences on the image of Islam. Cooperate with the civil societies and educational institutions to spread the tolerant Islam. Emphasize that there is no contradiction between Islamic and national identity, which is very important. Many of those young guys, they think they are Islamists more than they are Saudis. So when you think you are more Islamist or more internationalist, so you will be taking care, or you will think that you have the duty to help others in other countries. So if a problem happens in Philippines, you think it's my responsibility as a Muslim to go and help there. So we are trying really to change this thinking. Also, we encourage the authority in social institutions, mosques, schools, families, and the media to participate positively in countering such extremist ideology, and my department really is taking care of this. We always we are on daily basis we are dealing with these departments and dealing with these ministries. We are always in contact with the Ministry of Islamic Affairs, Ministry of Education, and other ministries, really to encourage them to participate in countering this ideology. We counter the extremist ideology on the internet. Then we have the rehabilitation program. Then we have the advisory committee. The advisory committee really, most of its job is inside prison. Usually we have, it has different subcommittees. The religious subcommittee, usually they will have an open dialogue with the detainees about any misunderstanding about Islam. Usually 3 sheikhs or 2 sheikhs and 1 psychologist or psychiatrist will sit with the detainee and talk about any issue that he has in his mind for 1 hour, 2 hours. If he's not persuaded, he can come back anytime. So it's not it's on voluntarily base. So many of these guys, our detainees, they like usually to participate in this kind of dialogue. Another activity also, we hold the long religious study sessions that deals with the variety of misunderstood topics. It's for about 6 weeks. They study about 10 subjects, and in the end they will have a final exam. And then we have, of course, we always make sure that they have to understand there is no connection between the involving in the program and their release. So they don't, think that, okay, I will go to this program, then I will be released. It's very clear to them that there is no relation between these two. Then we have the psychological and social subcommittee. We usually evaluate the psychological and social condition of the detainees. Usually also support the detainees and his family financially and morally. We have a committee of members who they go to the houses of the family and evaluate the situation. If they need any kind of help, we will provide it, because it's so important to win the hearts and minds of the family members. This is the chart of the organization. Then we have our newest program, the pre-release phase. Before a person is really released to the streets, he has to go through this program. We call it a halfway house, although it's not exactly a halfway house, but it's similar to it. It's a suitable place where we take these guys before they are released, and they live in groups for a few months in rented, protected facilities with nice housing, library, sports, and entertainment facilities. and usually they have these programs in different times. This is the program basically. We have non-classroom based activities and classroom based activities. And these are the programs. We have religious program, training program, social program, recreational program, fine arts program, and educational program, psychological program. Just an example of the religious program, they will study 10 courses. Some of these courses, one of them like relation with non-Muslims, the jihad and its criteria, and takfiri. So the main object of this is really to let them understand the real Islam, let them understand that they are really misunderstanding these concepts. Then we have the training program about self-development, family relation, and marketing training, or other program that really we think it will help them. This is one of the classrooms. Recreational program, they have sport program, fitness program, and dietitian, and we try our best really to use any program to achieve our goals. Like in the sport program, we always tell them about the obedience, how to obey the rules, how to obey the referee, and so we try to use it to serve our interest and our goals. These are some of the activities. Also, some of our professors, they will participate with these guys in their activities. Then we have the social program where they will have some daily calls with their families. They will go shopping and visit their family every once in a while, every month maybe. They meet usually with the social workers. And we do something regarding the social integration. We give them some lessons on how to integrate with the society. What do you expect when you leave this facility? How to deal with the society, what problems you might face. And mostly is done by professors. It's very important to understand that and opening a facility is not enough. You have to have those specialized people. We have more 130 people participating in these activities, mostly professors from university. These are some of the pictures, and we have the educational program. This is the newest program that we just created. In this program, we have a history program. What do we do in the history program? We teach them about the history of Muslims and the history of the Islamic movements, the recent Islamic movements. And basically, we are trying to show them how the usage of violence in the end is really not leading to any good thing. We show them, we talk about the history of Islamic movements, the recent Islamic movements, and how really they did not achieve the goals. So the best way is to make the change in a peaceful way. Then we have the educational lecture program. Then we have the media review program. What is the media review program? When an incident happens, usually some of the sheikhs and the clerics will go and sit watching the news like them. Then in the news, they will talk about this. Then the sheikh will lead the arguments, and he will talk about the incident, how good, why is this incident is not good, and he has a way to persuade them in the end that this is not the right way to really at least do the change. We have the psychological program, psychotherapy and self-reformation, positive thinking, usually specialists from universities and some hospitals. Then we have our unique program, the rehabilitation utilizing fine arts. We have a Saudi doctor who graduated from the United States. He's specializing in how to rehabilitate people through using fine arts. Usually, these guys, when they come, they will be asked to draw some pictures expressing themselves. And during their staying, this doctor will really monitor their drowning, and he can note, the change of their expression. I mean, in the beginning, when they come, usually they will really express themselves by drawing, horrible pictures. And then usually you will see the change. And they have seen it, not in this, but they have seen it in some incidents. Just to give you an incident, how really staying in the program changed the personality. I remember once a group of the Human Rights Organization, Human Rights Watch, they came to the center. And a few days ago, a group of guys just arrived from Guantanamo. Then when they knew these white guys coming, and they are from also this organization, they started shouting and they wanted to fight with them. So they didn't want to meet any people, any Americans, any white guys, any. Then we persuaded them, at least one of you can come and talk to him. So one of them, he came and they talked to this team, and he was really very angry about this organization, Human Rights Organization. Where have you been? You didn't even serve, you didn't come to visit us in Guantanamo and this and that. Anyway, the thing I wanted to say, after 4 months, these guys who refused to meet with these guys, it was, a usual thing to meet any visitors from Western countries. So they have changed. That's what I mean by staying, for these months, you can note there is a change, especially in meeting these guys or in their drawing in this program. Then we have the after-release care program, where we keep in touch with the released detainees and their families, which is, I think, very important. We usually distribute books to them and videotape, and sometimes we send them mobile text messages, which is really have a goal behind it. We support the released detainees to adapt to the society. We continue the financial and moral support for the released detainees and their families. And here I have to say that it's very important to have a very good relationship with the family. If you don't have this good relationship, I think you are not really winning the hearts and minds of these guys, and they might be members of Al-Qaeda next time. So we are struggling, to contain these families, because we don't want Al-Qaeda to recruit these guys. Because if we don't win their hearts and minds, Al-Qaeda will do that. And that's why we really support them as much as we can, because in the end, they will help us in many ways. They will help us to supervise their son when he is back. They will help us in supporting our programs. And in the end, they will really prevent more recruitments of Al-Qaeda from that family. So it's very important to have a very good relationship with the families. We also train and release the detainees if it's needed. We help the released detainees to go back to school, find them job, although it's very hard, and help them to get married, because when they get married, they always keep themselves busy with more responsibilities and maybe with their children and families. And because of this really is the success of this program, we decided to build a new facilities, because the one we talked about, it's a rented one. And now we are building one, and near future we will be building 5 of these all over Saudi Arabia. So this is the components of the units. And this is the animate units. It has bedrooms and common rooms, dining rooms, gym, tent, swimming pool. This is an overview of that. This is one of the units. And this is the educational building, where it has an auditorium and workshop and educational lab, language lab, classrooms. This is the recreational center with all the facilities. This is the administrative building. And this is the visitor building, where we have, over here we have some of the small hotel when the family come and visit their sons. These are some outside views. And thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmad. You actually arrived from Saudi Arabia last night, so I just it's more jet lag involved. A quick first question: are those units being built by the Martin family?
What is built by Bin Laden family is the 5 new prison systems. I mean, we had to really, because we were not prepared to have prisons for these too many people. So we had a problem classifying these guys inside the prisons, and we didn't have really the facilities. So we had to rush ourselves and build 5 prisons in very short time period, and the Bin Laden company built these prisons in a very short time.
Could you explain so we really understand this doctrine of the way in which you label these people deviants or takfiris, why you call them this?
Well, in Saudi Arabia we call them the deviant group. We don't call them jihadists, because if you call them jihadists, you are really serving their interest. They love to be called jihadists, because in jihad is a very noble thing in Muslim countries. So we don't call them jihadists, and we don't call them, some Islamic terms like mufsidun or harbiyun or bughat, because these names or these terms have different classification or understanding in Islam. But when you say the deviant group, that means they are the wrong side, and there is a possibility they will come to the right side. That's why we can't just categorize them in one group, because they have different classification. But the best thing is to say this is a really comprehensive term. When you say deviant group, you can include many people under this term.
And you've had 11 people go through the program from Guantanamo who graduated and joined Al-Qaeda again, including the leader of Al-Qaeda in Yemen. Does that call into question the premises of your program?
No, because again, recidivism is really very low. I think it's not very low, but it's logical. I mean, the recidivism rate is about 20%. I mean, if you compare it with other, or less than 20%, if you compare it with other programs, I think it can be called a success. I mean, those guys who left, it's not in your hand to make them stop. But again, it's not surprising, because some of them, they were very angry, and they have seen, especially some of these guys who left, it was at the time of Gaza, invasion, or Gaza, problem at that time. So it helped them really to recruit people and motivate them or incite them to go to Yemen and start the reorganization of Al-Qaeda from Yemen.
Just a quick clarification, the 20% recidivism rate is for the whole program, not for the Guantanamo prisoners who've gone through the program.
No, the whole program is less really, but I'm talking about the Guantanamo guys.
20%.
Yes, but for the whole program it's less than that.
Okay, we'll throw it over to questions. Judy Miller.
Thank you for your excellent presentation. Thank you for your excellent presentation. This is a world away from what many of us remember as a kind of attitude of denial that we originally encountered. And when you have recidivism cases, I assume you looked at the reasons for the recidivism. You mentioned the Gaza invasion as one of the just reasons cited, but can you talk about the reasons for the recidivism that you've now identified, and the most important ones? Thank you.
Well, most of these guys who joined Al-Qaeda, we really didn't have a chance to talk to them to understand why is that. But basically, one of the main reasons is to associate with takfiris, or with the new takfiris, or with the new jihadists, these kind of guys. I mean, reassociation. This is really very important thing, and that's why when someone leaves the prison or the detention, we tell them, please, the first thing, try to isolate yourself from these guys, because this is what happened. Especially guys from Guantanamo, they try to make a network, to have some relation with each other, and some of the radical elements try to influence others. So this is one of the problems we are having, and that's why some of them at the Gaza invasion or problems, they really influenced other people and persuade them, let's go to Yemen and start from there.
To what extent are the principles of the program exportable to other countries? For instance, Pakistan has nothing like this and obviously has a huge radicalization problem.
Well, in Saudi Arabia, we always tell our friends that we are really ready to help in any kind of a program, any kind of assistance. If they need, we are ready to help them. And it can be really, you can execute it if you have the facilities, I mean, if you have the sources. And again, the resources is not only money. You need some professional people to work on these programs. I mean, in our program we have like, especially the advisor and the care center, we have more than 100 sheikh, all of them professors from universities. So I mean, you need some kind of people with these resources so you have a successful program.
Afzal Khan, independent consultant. I would just like to ask, got my name? Afzal Khan. Okay. I'm trying to find out, the radicalization in Pakistan and Afghanistan rose from Wahhabism and the funding of madrasas in Saudi Arabia. And there's big problems going on in Pakistan. And there are articles out saying that the Wahhabis, making Pakistan more Wahhabi than the original Islam there.
Okay, we get it. What's the question?
Yeah. My question is there any program for you, for Saudi Arabia, not to export this kind of radical Islam?
Well, first of all, we are not exporting, this, okay? Basically, this radicalization or this radical ideology was imported from Afghanistan at that time. Most of the guys who are really leading radicalization in Saudi Arabia came from Afghanistan. They were not Wahhabi. I mean, basically, is Sayyid Qutb Wahhabi? You understand, I think you are a Muslim and you are. Sayyid Qutb is not a Wahhabi. Most of the ideology came from Sayyid Qutb and from those guys who came from Egypt. If you want to understand the Takfiri ideology, basically it came from prisons in Egypt. Those guys have been tortured in Egypt. Then they started asking themselves in prison, are these guys who are torturing us, are they Muslim or not? Then they started saying, no, they are not Muslims. In the end, when the Afghani conflict started, many of these guys in prison, when they were released from the Egyptian prison, they went there. Al-Jama'ah al-Islamiyya members and the Al-Jihad members. It's a group there. They went to Afghanistan, they took this Takfir ideology with them. I mean, Osama bin Laden, if you want to know, he was a very good friend of the Americans in the past. Very good friend of the Saudis. So they are not really exporting. Besides this, I'll just ask you if you are from the area maybe. Taliban, are they Wahhabi? Or what kind of creed they have? They are not Wahhabi. Most of them, they are Sufis. And you know the school of thought they belong. And there are some experts who understand this. So Taliban, they are not Wahhabi, so you can say that thing.
Over here.
My name is Rosemary Sekina. I'm the president of Hope for Tomorrow. We focus on violence against women. I'm based here in Washington, D.C., but I come from Kenya, in Africa. Do you have women Al-Qaeda or extremists in Saudi Arabia? Maybe in your centers, and if so, are they treated the same way as men?
Well, we have not really seen many women involved in Al-Qaeda activities in Saudi Arabia. Maybe this is due to the culture. In Saudi Arabia, women always are not playing a very important role in these kind of activities. So we have very, very few numbers of women. And we have special treatment for them because of the status of women, in Islam and in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Time for two more. We're going to have Melissa and Suzanne.
Melissa Bailey with Resources. Thank you for your your presentation. It's very informative. It's quite clear that there is a societal context for your de-radicalization. You work closely with the families and communities. Now, given that, I know that the U.S. government has asked for Saudi assistance in de-radicalization of Yemenis. And could you discuss the challenges of that and how Saudi is going to proceed with that, given you lack the societal context?
Well, again, you know, this program, if you will take it to Yemen, or if you will, I don't know if you are asking about the transferring guys from Guantanamo to Saudi Arabia, Yemenis from Guantanamo to Saudi Arabia. If you are asking about this question, the answer to this, again, it's a matter of relation between Saudi government and the Yemeni government. And if the Yemeni would accept that, Saudi always has said that they are willing to help in any way, either in building, you know, or in having all these kind of assistance to have such a program. But again, I think it's up to the Yemeni to accept that, and it's up to the individual to accept that. But in the end, the Saudis always has offered, you know, their assistance to any kind of programs.
Right now, the Saudi government is officially, what is the position of the Saudi government on this issue?
The Saudi government is saying we will help in anything that will help the international community.
If the Yemeni government agrees, you take
If the Yemeni government agrees, and if some of the detainees agrees, because you cannot, you know, force someone to come also. So it's up to the Yemeni government.
There are representatives of the Yemeni government here. Is the Yemeni government going to allow this to happen? They're all there. Okay, Suzanne.
Suzanne Spalding, Dr. Al-Haddad. Nice to see you again.
See.
I want to follow up on that question and that issue. I'm wondering what extent there's been any discussion about having a regional center, not necessarily controlled by one government, but perhaps by a coalition of governments in the region, or even by an NGO that is funded by a group of governments that might manage that process.
That's a good idea. However, to have a very successful program, you have to have the family very close to you. I mean, again, you don't want to open another Guantanamo. The family is so important. They have to be very close. They can visit and they can come and see them. And if you will have such a program, it will be a little bit difficult. So I think the best thing is to have a program inside each country, close to the family. That will be more effective.
Thank you very much, Dr. Haddad.